In the headlines,
Kenyans to apply for new electronic passports in order to travel. Plus the role of devolution in the Ministry of Health. Safe zones are no longer safe for children in the US. And finally, the guilty are not so guilty. Hello and welcome live from CR7 TV. I am Marianne Jambi and we welcome our viewers in Kenya and around the world. We are with you for the next 30 minutes. Thank you for joining us. This is the Connective Room. You can join the conversation on our social media handles on Twitter at The Connective Room and the hashtag The Connective Room. If you plan to travel, please digitalize your passport. The government urges Kenyans to convert their conventional passports to electronic passports and to avoid the last-minute rush. Kenyans abroad are also advised to convert their passports as this affects them too. These e-passports will have an electronic chip holding the same information as the conventional one, which includes biometric identifier, digital photograph of the holder, and security features to prevent unauthorized use and forgery. Details of e-passports will be registered with International Civil Aviation Organization. The tech is installed by the Pakistani government and costs an estimated 500 million shillings. Kenya becomes the second country in the region to issue e-passports after Burundi. Our correspondent Dennis Kamau has more on this.
In this world, people travel every day, whether it is local or international, for business or holiday, and even alone or as a group. To travel, one requires certain documents for access to the transport vessel, in this case being a plane. One requires a passport to visit all countries and a visa to some countries. With these new e-passports, Kenyans will have an easier time with passage in foreign airports.
Well, I would say that I can't be sure whether it's safe or not, but what I can say is that it's better than what was there. See, for the old passports, it was just a booklet, but for now, there are microchips embedded under the logo, so that's better for information storage, which is safer, but not safest.
Former Cabinet Secretary for Interior Fred Matiang'i, Phyllis Kandia of the EA community, Jomo Sheru for ICT and Cabinet Secretary for Energy assures Kenyans that the document is highly secure, difficult to forge as it is enhanced with automated fingerprint verification system that guards against multiple passport issuance to the same person, minimizing identity theft, data skimming, and forgery.
The new digital passport is something that we should have adopted a long time ago. The information in the passport itself is safe because there is no language to store information, to store the pictures, to store the data of the passport holder. But the main issue that we might have on the back end is how is that data being stored, the data that we give the government, what measures they have, and understanding the government systems and understanding the government expertise. The back-end storage of the data we don't think is very safe, because if we look at what they've done in the IDC, they lost our information. So security-wise, on the back-end, that might be an issue.
Traveling is great, but without the necessary documents, it can be a nightmare. Obtaining these documents can also take time, hence the government's new machines will print 2,000 e-passports daily as opposed to 800. It will take 8 days for the applicants to obtain their documents and 3 days for renewals. The charges for the different series categories will remain the same. Dennis Kamau, CR7 TV.
We are joined live by our analyst, Mr. Karanja Ndungu, who is an IT expert. Thank you, Mr. Karanja.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Okay. Digitalization of passports has been introduced in Kenya. Is this convenient for travelers as opposed to the having conventional passports?
It's quite convenient actually for the traveler because one, it's that the traveler now has more permanent. It's more permanent, whereas the passport before was a bit of it's quite frigid. Can say frigid or sensitive in that it could easily be damaged by water, rain, even burning. But with this e-chip or the e-passport, it's more durable because the data is stored on a chip which cannot be affected by environmental changes like water, exposure to sunlight. So the data inside the chip is more secure and more long-lasting compared to the physical, the old type of passport.
With such technological advancements, can travelers trust that this system will not fail?
No, the beauty about the e-passport system is that it's been thoroughly tested under very many conditions, and in its process of creation, or its creation since 2007, there have been upgrades to the system. So the e-passport that was created in 2007 compared to what we have now in 2019 has grown leaps and bounds in terms of the technology, the reliability, the process of creation, authentication, and even verification. It's quite reliable. And the thing is that countries that have subscribed to the e-passport platform, they need to have met certain conditions for them to be allowed to even start issuing this passport. So it's a system that that is guaranteeing the convenience of the customer, that is the traveler. So compared to the normal or the old process of verification, compared to this one, it's not going to be one where somebody can easily get stuck.
Since the technology is installed by the Pakistani government and the registration details sorted with International Civil Aviation Organization, is this information safe?
In terms of security, the e-passport is very secure. It uses cryptography technology. So in cryptography, what we do is that we encode or we encrypt and decrypt data using something called a key, an encryption key. That's a very basic explanation, but for the e-passport, they use what we call an asymmetric cryptographic system where two keys are used to secure data. One is used to encrypt and the other is used to decrypt. So the one that's used to encrypt data is the one that is of high security, and that's the one that's usually kept at government level security, and it's called a private key. And the one that's used to decrypt or to read data from the chip is called the public key, and it's one that is used by the airports at the e-gates to verify data. So that kind of security it's what we call an asymmetric type of encryption, which is quite secure. And in terms of hacking, the beauty about an asymmetrical encryption type of technology is that even one change or any tampering of data in the chip of the e-passport will mean that when you go to an e-gate and you're at the point of entry and you're trying to, and the person on the other end of the customs officer verifying your data, once he scans your chip or he tries to read information on the chip, it won't be able to display any data.
Thank you very much, Mr. Karanja. Devolution in Kenya is argued to promote community participation, accountability, technical efficiency, and equity in the management of resources. In 2010, Kenya passed a new constitution that introduced 47 semi-autonomous county governments with substantial transfer of responsibility for healthcare services delivery from central government to these counties. Our correspondent Martha Mwanza has more on this.
Two key elements of the health system are Human Resource for Health (HRH) and Essential Medicines and Medical Supplies (EMMS) management. With the devolvement of the government, it sought to improve these services by moving the public health sector from the national government to the county government. This was to improve the speed of delivery of services to the mwananchi and delivery of drugs.
Devolution has really helped in giving empowerment to the county government in terms of giving the mandate of the county government to be able to provide as per their requirements and their needs. let's say, the medical setup, depending on what they need in comparison to the major government, because you find that there are different challenges here and there that might not be applicable at a top level setup.
With devolution, it was expected to bring transparency, hence faster delivery of employee salaries. My name is Martha Mwanza, and thanks for watching CR7 TV. This is the Connective Room.
Because of technology mainly, because nowadays unaona watu wanaenda hospitali na records zao ziko yani they don't have to carry that card, which most people tend to lose all the time, so they find that their records ziko kwa computer, wanaweza access them and they're able to be treated.
And now we are joined live by our analyst, Dr. Esther. Welcome, Esther.
Hi.
Have there been more projects introduced since the devolvement of the government?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, kind of, yeah. But you see, I don't know if they're reaching us who are in Nairobi, but I think in the Mashinani area, it's better. The projects are better.
Has delivery of services and medical supplies been efficient since the devolvement of the government?
In terms of delivery of services, no, because we are short on staff. First of all, like the county government is not employing enough staff. So you find like one patient or like 10 patients, one nurse, 30 patients, one nurse, 60 patients, one nurse. So delivery of services, no. Also supplies, also no. Because I don't know where the money that the county government says they're being given to suppliers with supplies is going. Because you find like drugs expire in the pharmacy, and when we request for more, we're not being given on time. So even that, no.
One of the issues before the devolvement of the government was late deployment of government salaries. Has this changed?
I think it's worse. It's worse because you see strikes are like every time there's striking of nurses, striking of doctors, and even if, okay, I can say like long time ago there were strikes, but not as often. Most of the time is because of salaries, promotions. You find the government wants to employ people on contract basis. They say, the county government that is, they say that like you're going to be on contract basis for like three years, and then they don't want to renew your contract and pay you like a normal person, like pensionable. They want it to remain on contract. So it has become worse.
Thank you very much, Dr. Esther, for the analysis on devolution of the Ministry of Health. Up next, we will be back after the break. Don't go anywhere. A school shooting occurred at Santa Fe High School in Santa Fe, Texas, United States, in Houston metropolitan area on May 18, 2018. 10 people, 8 students and 2 teachers were fatally shot and 13 others wounded. The suspected shooter was taken into custody and later identified by the police as Demetrius Pagourtis, a 17-year-old student. The school shooting is the deadliest school shooting in the United States in 2018 after the Stoneman Douglas High School shooting in February resulted in 17 deaths and 17 injuries.
The shooter began firing a weapon into an art class at the school at around 20 minutes to 8 in the morning. The incident occurred in the school's art complex, which consists of 4 rooms connected to one another with interior hallways and other rooms. Now, witnesses said 2 targeted classrooms are connected by a ceramic room the shooter accessed by damaging a window. Now, one wounded victim told reporters that the shooter walked into the classroom and pointed at another person, saying that he is going to kill them.
Schools in Kenya should mostly improve on their security. Right now it's very inadequate. They need to improve on knowing who is a student, who checking on their records, and mostly maybe with enough resources, having them electronically set so that you know who is coming to school, who has not come to school, who is the legit student, because most of them are coming to school and doing funny things, selling drugs, people who are not students of the school. So it's a field which needs more improvement in Kenya.
According to a witness, students barricaded themselves in an art classroom storage closet and the shooter shot through the door with a shotgun. My name is Doreen Obere and thanks for watching CR7 TV. This is the Connective Room.
Thank you for joining us, Mr. Tiberius.
It is my pleasure and thank you for the invitation.
The increase of mass school shootings, can this lead to an increase in the number of children homeschooling?
First of all, homeschooling, in my view, is a westernized type of schooling. In our context, I don't think it will affect much because we live in a society where people believe in going to schools as opposed to homeschooling. So in my view, I think there will be a small effect.
What are some of the psychological effects that students who survive this ordeal experience?
I think basically they fear or they categorize school as one of the safest places. They also think or otherwise imagine that because they believe schools ought to be safe and there are attacks there at, even home or supermarkets vis-a-vis any other public place is also to be categorized as unsafe. So it instills, I can say, mass fear.
In your opinion, should schools invest more on their security measures they have when people get in, or is it adequate?
Absolutely. Most of the schools here in Kenya, for example, they are either not fenced, the security checks are not as properly arranged, and anyone can get in easily and get out, so they should enhance it.
Due to westernization, are there fears that maybe there are people who can be influenced and become copycats of these mass school shooters?
Yes. I'll give you an example. Suicide bombing was not common in Kenya, but recently we've seen our own people, or people who are perceived to be Kenyans, taking on their lives with the view of terrorizing people. So it will not be strange that kind of behavior will also come here.
Thank you, Mr. Tiberius, for that analysis.
Welcome. It was my pleasure.
European firms are increasingly tackling the scourge of bribery. Governments in Europe are catching up with America in pursuing corporate graft. One of the most extreme recent cases of corporate bribery is that of LafargeHolcim, a giant Swiss-French cement maker which was accused in 2016 of funneling money to armed groups controlling roads and checkpoints around a factory in Syria. The firm still cannot be sure who pocketed its payoffs via middlemen that were intended to keep its facility running at all costs. The money may have ended up funding Islamic State terrorists. Our correspondent, Arnold Otieno, has more for you.
The investigation into LafargeHolcim is one side of a wider change. The era when Europe's firms could talk up lengthy ethic codes at home and behave badly abroad is over. Long gone are the days when German law counted bribes paid by the country's industrial champions as tax deductible.
People believe that they can steal public money and get away with it. This is supported by the fact that right now it is more easy to bribe a judge than 5-10 years ago because one, we don't have tough measures in terms of the law, penalties to once convicted, then it stands as an example. I'll give you an instance of China, whereby corruption is punishable with death. But you see, you find that in Kenya you are found guilty of corruption. You are told that maybe you are going to spend 5 years in prison and pay a small fee, depending on how much you stole. How then that is not a form of deterrence in terms of conviction of this graft case.
The spate of scandals in Europe suggests that prosecutors, as well as politicians who influence how much freedom judicial investigators enjoy, are becoming even less tolerant of corporate corruption. My name is Arnold Omondi, and thanks for watching CR7 TV. This is The Connective Room.
My view is that the investigative process goes a long way in determining the outcome of graft cases. I have an opinion that we fail so much when it comes to investigations. Our investigative agencies do not take the serious approach that such a task demands, such that whatever evidence is tendered before a court of law can only be dealt with in a manner so as to limit the court's decision-making powers. If the evidence is not watertight, definitely the suspects will have to go free.
I think it's a case of influential and powerful people slowing down the judiciary because they have the money and the means to maybe pay off the prosecutors or the judges, and the case can drag on in court for a lot of years. I also think another reason is that the judiciary is not well equipped to handle the influx of cases. I think in comparison to the number of cases, there's not enough judges and prosecutors and the judiciary machinery to just prosecute the cases in time. So there's a huge backlog. It has not been able to efficiently deal with the cases.
The reasons is because they are issued a bond. This bond gives them a chance to interfere with the witnesses. Thus, the case will come to an end. The second reason is because they got the influence, so they're able to influence the outcome of them.
Thank you for joining us, Mr. Wilberforce. When it comes to graft charges, what does the law in Kenya state?
On the issue of graft is regulated by a number of laws. We have the Penal Code, we have the Civil Procedure Code, we have the Constitution that forms the background, the principal background of all those laws. So the laws have a governing principle, a governing regulations that sanctions criminal action and criminal issues.
Between the international nations and the African nations, who do you think between the two take graft offense seriously?
If you look, a number of nations have a framework, criminal laws framework that guide and regulate criminal procedure. And from onset, we have within the international forum, we have serious countries like Finland, Sweden, that take serious action on corruption and graft. That's a challenge in Africa because of the impunity and lack of democratic institutions. So in that perspective, you find in the international forum, like United States, Sweden, Finland, there's strong action against corruption and graft, another crime that affect humanity and human society.
Which bodies in Kenya carry out graft investigations?
In Kenya, we have the ASECA Act, that is Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act, that provides for the foundation of the EACC, that is Ethics and Integrity Anti-Corruption Commission. It's founded under the ASECA Act. We also have the
National Police Service Commission Act that gives the Directorate, DCI, Director of Criminal Investigation, gives its powers as a body created under Section 5 and 32 of the National Police Service Commission Act. So those are the main bodies that that investigate crime and mostly graft and corruption.
Why are conviction of graft charges in Kenya minimal?
I think the reasons why the convictions are minimal is that we lack a strong democratic institution. We have had other reasons is we don't have enough resources. We have had resources by EACC and Corruption Commission to investigate, resources by the DCI to investigate, and lack of reforms in the judiciary that still not progressive enough to enable create that environment so that those found guilty are those found culpable are investigated and sanctioned and convicted in accordance with the rule of the law.
Thank you for that wonderful analysis, Mr. Wilberforce.
Welcome.
Nakupenda poa. I love you.
I love you from the bottom of my heart.
May God protect her.
Word of the day is, rejoice in the little things, for they also matter and count. That's all we had for you on this episode. Thanks for watching The Connective Room. Kindly like, share and subscribe so that you can stay updated when the next episode is uploaded. Cheers.